Okay, so welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room for another Arts of Letting Go live session. So let's start off with today's email. There's a quote, as usual, to lead us into today's teaching and the lesson, and should be able to do some text actually tonight. So I'll share my screen with you. You can read that kindly.
Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid.
Now that's a quote from Gospel of John in the New Testament, assuring us that the peace he experienced is ours as well, and urging us not to allow resistance to and fear of apparent problems to occupy our minds. So when he says, not as the world gives, do I give to you, he means, when he says, not as the world gives, as do I give to you, he means that focusing your attention on the world of form will never bring you true peace. Because this world, being the projection of the ego or belief in separation, that is the only reason you do not consistently experience the peace of perfect love, is designed to disturb your peace. I think that's a key insight.
Mm.
The world is designed to disturb your peace. So it's no wonder that most people are not peaceful, because it's designed to do exactly the opposite. And then it starts to make a lot of sense. You go, okay, well, that's why the world is so peaceful. That's why there's conflict and war and disease and chaos and death, because it's designed that way. It's not God's creation. So what else could you really expect from anything produced by a belief that seemed to shatter the peace of heaven, which, remember, is just a state of pure formless awareness, but more disturbance of your peace, right? The moment you disturb peace, then that thought system is going to logically lead to more disturbance of your peace, whatever comes of it. And so that's what we have to see, is that this whole system is incredibly flawed. Let's bring up the descent into hell diagram, shall we? There we go. So the moment that you decide on separation and you reject perfect love, which is peace, you now have this other idea going on, this ego consciousness, which we call ego consciousness, universal mind, belief in separation, Satan in some religious traditions. That just leads to more disturbance of the peace. If you believe that thought system, and you identify with the individual self, now you're in division and duality, you must experience guilt for the imagined sin of destroying this pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is peace. And then you must experience fear, which is a false expectation of punishment appearing real. And then you're going to project your guilt out onto others and onto a concept of a fearful God. So you're going to get accusation, blame, and attack, which engenders more fear. Attack and fear go hand in hand. And all of that disturbs your peace endlessly, doesn't it? You just go round and around in cycles of fear, blame, guilt,
Yes.
attack, and on it goes. And you know, we're well familiar with that helpless animated little life of the ego, because we've all played that game. We can see the effects of it in our own lives and others' lives. It's very limiting. It's very destructive. And yes, you're saying, well, this is all you can expect from this thought system. The moment you deny the peace of God, the peace of perfect love, then you're in a thought system based on that denial, and you're going to get conflict from that system. And there's no way you can fix the system. This is the course's teaching. You can't fix the system and somehow make it work. The only way out is to reject the whole system, to let go of the entire system. Call the ego, and that's what we choose, and restores our mind to that state, and lets go of our belief in all these other things. So yeah, that's a very brief overview of the course's teaching, but pertinent in this respect, because we're talking about what's happening. It's getting stuck. Okay, so I might have to just pivot to another browser, possibly, because that one seems to be getting stuck. Let's close that. Close the program, shall we? Let's go here, and we'll go inbox. Let's find the email I'm looking for. That one. There we go. Okay, so the external universe and the world in which we seem to live is just a projection of your belief in separation. And now it's a seeming justification for endless disturbances to your peace of mind. But Yeshua symbolizes the thought system of the Christ or the true self that will save or awaken you from the self-created nightmare in which peace doesn't seem to be possible, and various disturbing emotions like desire, or in Buddhist terminology, craving, resistance or aversion, which is really the desire for something to be different from what it is, and this constant fear or anxiety that your expectations about how your apparently external reality should look will not be met. All of that craving, aversion, resistance will seem to occupy your mind instead. And so he urges us not to allow these troubles and fears, which are really caused by our own false beliefs and expectations, to disturb our peace in any way. In other words, awareness or vigilance is required while you seem to be living in this world, because here it's so easy to deny the peace you truly want when the ego presents you with opportunities to get upset by apparently external circumstances that is invented, and tries to convince you that blaming other people in the world in general for your lack of peace will alleviate your guilt by giving it to other people and things, so God will punish them and not you, as demonstrated in this system. Let's just bring that document up. More.com / and it's what we wanted. Okay. So that's what I wanted. There we go. So the descent into hell. What we do with this guilt is the ego can't handle it. It doesn't like it. So it tries to get rid of it by projecting it out. and it projects it out as accusation, blame, and attack, which is why this world is characterized by these emotions and these thoughts. And then it gets projected out as that. Whenever you accuse or blame or attack anyone else, you actually feel more guilty. So it just perpetuates the guilt. You're also going to fear punishment, that this other person might come and counterattack you. And so fear is engendered. And you get caught up in this very vicious circle of guilt, projection of guilt outwards as blame and attack, and then fear, which just perpetuates the guilt, which means you project some more, and around and around and around you go. And that's been going on a very long time in everyone's mind and in the world. This is why the world has always been conflict ridden, why there's a lot of conflict here, a lot of war. As long as you believe in the ego, that's inevitable. This is the kind of system you're going to get. So what this teaching is saying is, well, what else do you expect? When you deny the truth, what else can you expect by this? And this entire system is dysfunctional. It cannot be fixed. It has to be let go of in its entirety or not at all. You can't choose a little bit of it and say, well, I kind of like my individual identity. That's fine, but I don't like the guilt and the sin and the fear and the attacks. I want to let go of those. You have to collapse the whole thing and go from first principles, which is this idea of separation. That the idea is simply not true. So any part of that idea is not true. Any individual identity cannot be true if separation is not true, obviously, which means that your entire individual identity is false. It's not true. The entire system is not true. It's based on a lie. And on that basis can be correctly perceived and then let go of. So you don't believe in the system, you don't honor it, you don't perpetuate it, and that's how you eventually get out of it. You let it go so completely that your mind is restored to pure formless awareness of perfect love, and you can remain there for all eternity, which, remember, is no time. Eternity just means no time. There's no sense of anything changing, any passing time. Whereas in this system, things are changing all the time. So this is the system of time, change, inevitably death comes with that. This system simply says, you are eternal forever, and nothing ever changes. Okay, so what's required really is that we have vigilance. There needs to be an awareness or vigilance while you seem to be living in this world. Because here it's so easy to deny the peace you truly want when the ego presents you with opportunities to get upset by apparently external circumstances it's invented and tries to convince you that blaming other people and the world in general for your lack of peace will alleviate your guilt by giving it to other people and things. So God will punish them and not you. Right? So that's the very childish idea. I'm going to project my guilt onto you. God then is you the guilty one, so God's going to punish you, and I'm off the hook. And that's what we're doing whenever we accuse and blame and attack anyone. It's not obvious that that's what we're doing, but that is what we're doing. And we have to realize that's what we're doing in order to stop it, which is exactly why Yeshua is giving us this detailed. It's kind of a breaking down and a detailed analysis of the ego's thought system, isn't it? Yeah. To help us to let it go. So realizing in moments when you're not being tempted, that the ego's logic is completely false, will help you maintain this vigilance when you are being tested. So just read the paragraph again. Maybe Elaine, read that.
Mm-hmm.
So this paragraph, in other words, awareness or vigilance is required.
In other words, awareness or vigilance is required. While you seem to be living in this world, because here it is so easy to deny the peace you truly want when the ego presents you with opportunities to get upset by apparently external circumstances it has invented and tries to convince you that blaming other people and the world in general for your lack of peace will alleviate your guilt by giving it to other people and things, so God will punish them and not you.
Can you see the twisted logic in that from the ego's point of view and
Mm.
what it's trying to do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not the guilty one, you're guilty. So if I project my guilt onto you and I blame you, then you're the guilty one, and God is going to destroy you and not me. So I'm off the hook.
Mm.
And
Oh.
this is why in this world, we're so addicted to blaming. It's seems to be entrenched in the human psyche. Everyone engages in it all the time. And all it does is it perpetuates the cycle. It means that the guilt and the sin is confirmed. The more you give something, the more you're really saying, I have it to give. Yeah. So the more I honor the guilt by projecting it out, the more I'm actually reinforcing the guilt, which then underpins my individual identity and it makes me very separate. And that's what guilt does. Guilt projected out makes as accusation, blame, and attack, and then the inevitable fear that just perpetuates a separate identity. You're going to feel very separate from everyone and everything the more you play that game, aren't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's no hope in the system. You can't help but believe then, if you believe in the system, that you are a victim, that you are living this helpless, innovative little life, which is a good acronym for hell, of limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering. Inevitably, you're going to die, and all you can expect from this world is a little bit of pleasure. You seek for scraps of pleasure. You try and alleviate the pain as much as you can. Maybe you try and avoid conflict, but you can't help yourself, and you keep projecting your guilt out onto other people and
Mm.
blaming them for your apparent suffering. And that the system's been going on and on and on for millions of years. This is why we still here playing these insane games in a dream world, because we still believe the system is somehow going to work. And it's only on a high level analysis like this that gets you to understand what's really going on here.
Well, we obviously think that it's through evolution, technology, and I guess that's where people think that we're going to advance through technology.
Yeah. So look at what's happened. If you take the diagram down further, we had the Big Bang, which is the projection of this guilt and fear outwards to miscreate a physical universe, and then all the apparent forms in it, including human beings, and now all these forms engage in some kind of life here. And as human beings, we've developed our intellect to a high degree. We have hands, we have minds, and so we've created all this technology to try and make our lives better. That's
Mm-hmm.
essentially what technology is designed to do.
Yeah.
Except that it doesn't really solve any of these problems because these are spiritual problems. So it doesn't matter how much technology you invent, if you go on doing this projection of guilt and blame and attack and fear, it doesn't matter how much technology you invent, you're still in hell and you're still going to suffer.
No matter all the
And
clever trickery, I mean, eventually probably will all be flying, We'll have little planes of our
flying cars,
own.
whatever, but it doesn't really change the underlying dynamic
No,
of
it's
the
you
world.
can have all the fancy things going on in the world,
Yeah.
and then
But
you have,
actually there's all this guilt and sin and fear and attack that's embedded in the psyche, and that has to be projected out. And then we see that as
well,
the dysfunction of the world.
eventually
Which
you'll have a robot as a husband, yeah.
who knows? Yeah, I mean the ego, it's all insane. So anything's possible in the
So if
ego
you're
system.
lonely, you can get a little robot, and call it Dave.
Yeah. Well, if you watch Steven Spielberg's AI movie, which he
All
made in
right,
2001.
I'll have a look at
Yeah,
that.
it's like there's robots, there's humanoid robots, and the robots look human and they act human, but they're robots. And people are having relationships with robots and they're having children, robots, and like, okay, well, it's not actually that far-fetched given where AI is going. But
Yeah,
it's still insane.
it is.
It's
Yeah, you
insane.
still.
And interesting in his thing, the robot was then capable of anger and hatred and
Oh,
fear
oh, right. Well,
as
yeah.
well.
So the idea is to obliterate all that, but yeah.
Yeah. Because the robot was programmed to specially love a mother. And then,
Mm,
you know, but then God help you if you don't get what you want, then the robot, you know, is attacking. The robot in the movie ends up attacking
mm,
clones of himself,
oh,
smashing them. It's like, no, no, it's my mommy, only me, you know. And
oh,
it's an
mm,
interesting interpretation. Like
mm,
Steven Spielberg made it, saying, you know, well, actually, the mind is still the mind. You know, and
mm.
if you start programming robots to have emotions, then you're going to get the same thing. It's a thought system.
Yeah, yeah.
That you know, this thought system is what needs to be looked at and undone. And no amount of technology, no amount of AI is going to do that. It's a forgiveness or a letting go on a radical level that's going to work. That's the only thing that's going to work in
Mm,
each human being. You know, that's our task here. That forgiveness technology, letting go technology is the only thing that's really going to work to solve all the problems of the world. Otherwise, you're just trying to make hell a bit better. You know, all the technology tries to make really what is a hellish world somewhat better and more
comfortable.
bearable.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's obviously for the body, it's a lot more comfortable than say the medieval days. You know, obviously those days you didn't have a car or anything.
Yeah.
Now we've got online shopping if we're not feeling too
Yeah.
well. We've got carers when our bodies become elderly. So yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot more comfortable now than
But look at the seduction of that is you stay in hell because it's more comfortable. You go, oh well, this isn't so bad. So
yeah.
I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna hang around here and I'll come back, you know, again and again, lifetime after lifetime. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua's saying, no, you need to really look at it and understand just how bad it is
Mm,
in order to want to let it go. You know, that's why he gives, you know, gives us some of those passages which are quite hardcore. It's like,
yeah.
whoa, you know, like talks about the sickness and the guilt and the pain and the suffering and the death in graphic terms. And he's
Mm,
doing that because he's trying to get us to realize that this entire system is
ain't gonna
horrendous.
work.
This entire system is hellish, and no amount of trying to fix it is going to work because it's based on a false idea and it's based on guilt, sin, fear, and attack. And it doesn't matter how much technology you introduce into that, those are still going to be driving it. So then we'll create technologies as we have that are actually destructive. Think of you know, weapons, nuclear weapons, chemical
Mm,
weapons,
yeah.
weapons of mass destruction. We've invented technology that can kill us, that can destroy the human race, and
Mm,
you know, a lot else. Well, that's not very clever. That's totally insane. Like, what
mm,
species would invent technology that can wipe out the whole species with a press of
mm,
a button? That's
mm,
madness. Who would do that?
mm. It does
You know,
sound
only an
crazy.
insane mind would conceive of that.
Hmm.
So the you know, entire system, including all the technology, is completely insane and simply needs to be let go of. This is the teaching.
Mm, mm,
And now we can, while we're in it, we can use technology like we're using now. You know, we thousands of miles apart, but we can talk and we can communicate. So the biggest bonus of technology is it
mm.
facilitates
Connecting.
communication
Hmm.
around the truth. You know, the truth can be communicated in a much quicker,
Oh
more
yes.
direct
Well,
way because
yeah,
of
yeah.
these information technologies
Very
that we can
grateful for
use. And
that.
that's really the only purpose of it, is to create connections, community, and help the awakening process. You know, everything else is insane.
Mm,
So
mm.
again, you know, the technology isn't necessarily bad. It just needs to be used by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
It's not the answer. You're never going to find the complete answer in that, but you can use what the ego's created, including technology, for a holy purpose, which is exactly what we're doing right now. You know, we're communicating the absolute truth via this technology. It wouldn't be possible if we hadn't invented all kinds of things, the electricity, computers, the internet. It's all needed, and all of that came from inventive minds. So this is saying don't think technology is the answer. It's going to solve the problem, but you can use everything. You can reinterpret everything with the Holy Spirit for the one purpose of
So,
this world, which is a
so
way.
for example, the man who invented electricity or all of, the certain drugs that help people, were they using their Holy Spirit to do these
Well,
inventions?
that's a good question. I think anyone who's done anything to really benefit humanity has been tapping into the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
often these inventors are quite altruistic. They're doing it for the good rather than for the money. I think of someone like Tesla. Tesla invented
Mm-hmm.
electricity, AC, DC current,
Mm-hmm.
alternating current, and then was working on free energy. And he wanted to give free energy to humanity, just because that was the right thing to do. He was quite a spiritual guy.
Mm.
And of course, he got stopped and ended up dying in poverty because his ideas were too threatening to the powers that be that wanted to make money from energy and so on.
Mm.
So in his case, certainly, I think there was Holy Spirit was using his unique talent. He's, an inventor par excellence, possibly the
Mm-hmm.
greatest inventive mind that's ever lived,
Mm.
and using that for good. And he wanted to do good with his abilities.
Mm.
So yeah, if the purpose is to really help and benefit people, then the Holy Spirit is there, but
Mm.
behind it all.
Yeah.
Uh, that is very often the case. I can't say altogether. Some of them are being motivated by making money as well. Uh,
Mm.
possibly. Um,
You get a
so I
mix.
can't say absolutely, but if if there was an
Mm.
intention to help, genuine intention to help humanity and benefit people, then the Holy Spirit is there. So usually, in any of these things, especially if if it was difficult, what inspires you to carry on? Well, you've got to have a bigger reason to carry on than just making money. There's a passion. There's something that these people are trying to accomplish in the world, and the spirit drives them. And I know that feeling quite well because it's what's driven me to create this community. It's like there's something way beyond money and any material success that inspires you to carry on and do it even when it can seem to be quite unrewarding on a material level. So I think in most cases the Holy Spirit would be there, but you'd have to look at each person and their journey, and determine that. And then the Holy Spirit can use the illusion to benefit and to uplift and to heal without making it real. That's the art of it. So can you play in the dream world with these illusions, but don't really make them real and don't enslave your mind to them. And that's the art of letting go. Yes, it is possible, but it requires quite a lot of mind training and vigilance and practice to do that. Be in the world, but not of the world. That's the way Yeshua explained it. So he was very much in the world, teaching, preaching, healing, and yet he wasn't of it. He didn't believe in the world, but he was able to engage in it in a very constructive, helpful way, to help and heal and benefit many, many people and humanity as a whole. So, to get back to this, it's gone away. Okay, never mind. We'll get it back. So he urges us not to allow our troubles, our fears, which are really caused by our own false beliefs and expectations, to disturb our peace in any way. And the only way to do that is awareness or vigilance. We need to be vigilant of the ego. So it's really easy to deny the peace you truly want when the ego presents you with opportunities to get upset, doesn't it? Isn't it?
Mm.
By the apparently external circumstances it's invented, and it tries to convince you that blaming other people in the world in general for your lack of peace will alleviate your guilt by giving it to other people and things, so God will punish them and not you. It's all very childish and insane. You realize what's going on. So just realizing in moments when you're not being tempted that the ego's logic is completely false will help you maintain this vigilance when you're being tested. So why not read the paragraph above? We've just done that. Look for flaws in the ego's logic. So can you see that it's really impossible to get rid of your guilt by giving, or in ACM terminology, projecting it onto another person or thing, which is all that blame really entails. The more you give guilt to another person, the more guilty you'll feel, because you can't give what you don't have. If you keep giving something, you're saying, I've got lots of it to give. So if you keep giving or projecting guilt in the form of blaming and complaining about other people in the world, you'll continue reinforcing the illusion that you have plenty of it to give, and you reinforce your guilt. And that's why projection of guilt never works. And that's why we have to stop it to awaken. And it's also worth reminding yourself that no one can be guilty in truth, because nothing they seem to do in a dream is real. So they're never really separated from God or pure formless awareness of perfect love. And they therefore cannot be guilty and deserving of punishment for a crime they didn't commit. The whole thing's illusory. They think they're separated. They believe that. They act accordingly, but they didn't really. Everyone, including you, is really perfect, whole, and complete in their true self as pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's the truth. So if you just ponder that, perhaps read the read from here then, having done this, read those two paragraphs. Having done this, highlighted the, I don't know what's highlighting the bigger one, but having done this, can you see it's really impossible from that paragraph?
Having done this, can you see that it's really impossible to get rid of your guilt by giving, or in the ACIM terminology, projecting it onto another person or thing, which is what all blame really entails. The more you give guilt to another person, the more guilty you will feel, because you can't give what you don't have. So if you keep giving or projecting guilt in the form of blaming and complaining about other people in the world, you are continually reinforcing the illusion that you have plenty of it to give. And the next paragraph.
Yeah, read that as well.
And it is also worth reminding yourself that no one can be guilty in truth, because nothing they seem to do in a dream is real. So they never really separated from God or pure formless awareness of perfect love, and therefore cannot be guilty and deserving of punishment for a crime they didn't commit. Everyone, including you, is really perfectly whole and complete in their true self as pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah, so does that make sense? You know, if you look at the logic of the Holy Spirit, it certainly says the idea of separation never happened. It's a false idea, it's a dream, and anything that comes from it is equally false and unreal. And that reinterpretation of everything in the dream is the way out of it. If you keep doing that, you keep reminding yourself that it's unreal and therefore only pure formless awareness of perfect love is real, you will eventually escape the entire dream, because you simply won't believe in it anymore. The idea of separation will be meaningless to you, and you are ready just to accept pure formless awareness of perfect love as your reality for all eternity. So it's actually quite straightforward what he's asking us to do, right? It's logical, it's straightforward. It's just doing it when you're apparently in the system and in the world requires a lot of awareness and a lot of vigilance, because it's so easy to get sucked in to this whole story and all of the dream thoughts and experiences and characters, and it all seems to be very real, and you forget that none of it's reality, that it's actually just a product of a false idea. So when we have to keep practicing and reminding ourselves of that fact that, you know, this is all false and none of it is to be taken seriously in our spiritual practice, which is why spiritual practice is so essential. So if you ponder, you know, the logic of this, can you see that the ego's thought system of expecting circumstances, people, place, and events to be other than they are, and blaming others in the world, even the weather can be used to serve this twisted purpose, is completely insane. And so you need to let go of your belief in it and its resulting behavior of desiring and expecting, blaming and complaining entirely to be at peace. You can't keep a little bit of the system. Oh, well, I just have a little bit of my special identity and that's okay. Because the individual special identity then causes the guilt and the sin and the fear and the attack and the projection of that as accusation, blame, and attack. And that recycles back into the guilt. And so you just go around and around and around. So you've got to stop this thing at the start of it. You've got to go back to the first principle of it, which was that you believed that you could actually be separate from this perfect loving awareness we call God. And yes, we're saying if you look at that first principle, that is false, that's incorrect. You cannot actually be separate from your source. It's not possible. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, or questions on that? It's an overview of the metaphysics, which is worth doing from time to time. And this is really whenever you correct anything in this world, you're reminding yourself of this whole system, of the ego, why it's insane, why it needs to be let go of, and of the truth to replace it. And so you're teaching yourself through the process of forgiving or letting go, you're teaching yourself that only this truth is true. The only pure formless awareness of perfect love is true and nothing else is true. Do you see that? So letting go is the training, is the practicing of oneness, so that eventually you completely know it as your reality. You've completely accepted it. There's no more doubt. Okay. So any comments or thoughts or questions on that, Elaine?
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, well explained.
Okay, so that leads us into our lesson for today. We're in our session, and next order of business is the lesson, which this little chat has prepared us well for, I hope. So let's have a look at lesson 220. Okay, so this is lesson 220. Which is the last of this lesson is the last of a series of reviews. We've done 20 reviews. And it's the end of the first part of the workbook. We go into part 2 tomorrow when we start the lesson 221, and there's a little introduction to that. So without further ado, and the lessons now get very quick. They're all about one or two paragraphs. So you asked about doing some more text.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Yeah,
time we do the lesson, and then there'll be time for the text after that.
yeah, that's good.
This is pretty short.
Mhm.
All right. So if you can read the lesson and the original and alternative, starting with I'm not a body, I'm free.
I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Or I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as perfect love extends me. And there is no peace except the peace of God. Or there is no peace except the peace of perfect love.
Yeah. So, any thoughts on those ideas? We've looked at the body one, we've repeated that over and over, but you know, it bears repeating, doesn't it? Because you just in
Yeah,
our
it
expression
does. It came
saying
up
how
today. Mm.
yeah, you know how the body identification comes up especially if you're feeling physically under the weather but sick. If the
Mhm.
physical body's in any kind of pain or distress, it's very easy to believe that your body.
It is.
Um,
It is, and it's very sort of what's the word? It's very graphic. It'll look at the worst case scenario, So, yeah, ego.
which is of course death, which is
Yes,
inevitable.
of
Inevitably, your body
course,
is going to at some
of
point.
course.
The ego just clings to
Every
life and says, "Well, as long as it's not tomorrow, I'll be all right.
I know.
If it's in
Yeah,
30
smart.
years, then that's okay. But it's
We've still got to
inevitable
face it. We've got to still
that you're going
face
to
it.
face it at some point. It's just like deferring, delaying the inevitable. And you could look at, perspective on human life is
Mm,
that it's inevitable. We're all on a path to death
of course.
from the moment we're born, which is all a bit depressing, really, if you're honest about it. Which is
Yeah.
is why
Yes.
it's just saying, well, is this really a system that you want? Is this a world and a
Exactly.
reality where everything is heading in one direction towards death, which means that what's the point then? You do
Mm,
all this stuff in life, and it all comes to nothing, and you die in the end.
mm.
One wonders, well, what is the point then? If we look at the this timeline of consciousness, let's go up to where are we? It was about here, I think. The timeline of consciousness. This is from a bigger picture. This is what every human being is in. We have a timeline from birth to death with various events that go on that punctuate your life. A lot of them not that pleasant, some more pleasant than others. It's a mixed bag, isn't it? These
It
are
is.
these are some of the experiences that are fairly common. I've just made them up, but I know people in the community who've experienced these things.
Oh yes,
Major
yes.
childhood trauma, death of a parent. I think John lost his father when he was early teens. Everyone's been rejected by your first special love. That didn't work. Marriage. There's people who've been divorced.
Oh yes. Mm.
Job. Lynn lost her job twice recently in COVID, and so on. So it goes. So these are common experiences.
Oh yes,
Major,
yeah. We've all
major
had them.
traumas, heart attacks, major success, sale of a business. Someone's done that in the community. Existential crisis of retirement, illness, and then eventually death. So, okay, that's an average human life. If you really look at that, is that worth it? This is what we've got to look at from the
For all
bigger
the little,
picture.
well, just the little trinkets that, I mean, obviously some people get a better trinket than others, that have maybe the sportsman has his trophy wife and a lovely house and two lovely
Yeah,
children or whatever.
some people seem to do better in the dream than others, but they
Yes.
still face this stuff, right? It's not roses for anyone. A lot of successful people have had a lot of hardship and a lot of suffering
Mm,
as
mm,
well. So if you don't want suffering, don't come here. That's the the lesson, because this world inevitably entails a degree, sometimes a high degree of suffering
mm,
along the journey. And that's going to be inevitable. Whatever life you have, you could be born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and there are these trust fund kids, but they also suffer. They're not suffering financially. but they suffer often from lack of purpose. They get addicted to substances. They have messy relationships. You know, their lives aren't necessarily very happy.
And
This is
identity
the
problems
read
as
the
well. They have
celebrity magazines and tabloids and stuff to see
mm,
that. You know, these
mm,
people are supposedly successful. Often there's a lot of dysfunction, a lot of drama, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. Even and these are supposed to be the most successful people in society, you know, who've
mm,
got it all. Well, okay, maybe we've got to look at it honestly and just say the whole system is completely flawed.
mm, mm,
You know, if you understand that you're born and you're going to suffer, inevitably suffer, and then go through various experiences, and then it all comes to nothing because you die, and most probably no one's going to remember you. This is the odd
mm,
person who's famous and people remember them, but really, so what? You know, they're just relics of history. No one's going to remember you. So what was the point of the whole journey?
mm,
That's the question, you know, that philosophers, sages, mystics have wrestled with for centuries. What is the point of a life that is characterized by so many ups and downs, so much pain and suffering? Eventually, you are going to die. That's inevitable. Why? That's the question. Why are we doing it? Is this some kind of God-given reality that we're supposed to go through this to learn lessons? You know, what's the deal? And fortunately, the Course answers that and says, no, it has nothing to do with God. This is a departure from God. This is nothing whatsoever to do with pure formless awareness of perfect love, fortunately.
mm,
It's a departure from it. This is the opposite of it. And this is what you get when you depart from reality. You get insanity and you get pain and suffering and sickness and death. And you're just going to go round and around on this cycle, in the cycle of birth and death. The wheel of birth and death, it's called in some Eastern teachings, over and over and over again until you let go of your desire to be a separate self. That's your ego. You let go of your karma, which is all the negativity of the ego, and you return your mind to pure formless awareness of perfect love, and you go home. That's heaven. Otherwise, you'll just keep missing it, bypassing it, and cycling around it over and over again, lifetime after lifetime, living, being born, suffering, having a mixed bag of experiences, dying. You still think you're a separate self, so you don't go back to pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's still denied in your awareness. And you have to come back and play out the dream again. And the ego's psychological and emotional attachments play out again and again in human form. And you have to incarnate again. Because what else do you do if you believe you're a separate self? There's nowhere else to go other than heaven, as the Yeshua says. There's heaven, state of pure formless awareness, or there's this, and this is nowhere. This is nothing. You're living in a hellish dream that is just the opposite of truth, which doesn't really exist, but we've invented it and we think it exists. So our only task is to let it go and restore our mind to the state of pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is to unite with our Father or our Source. And this is the merging of the Father and the Son as one awareness that all the spiritual teachings talk about. And this is coming home. This is getting off this insane cycle, getting out of all pain and suffering, and just restoring your mind to the state of eternal bliss, which is its natural state. So that's the simple truth. It's not rocket science, is it? It's not actually that difficult to understand if you look at it from this high level perspective. The trick here is we just have to let go. The Holy Spirit's letting go of forgiveness. These blue arrows are critical because they transport us from being attached to the dream and really focusing on that and being rooted on the timeline as the separate self doomed to suffer and die. And they raise us up into this awareness. Whenever we truly forgive or let go, we go back into this awareness, even if it's briefly. We experience the freedom of this awareness, and that asserts our true identity. We then go, this is reality. This is what I want. This is what I prefer. to this insane egoic and identity and dream world. And if I keep making that choice, if I keep forgiving, I'm choosing my true reality. You see, so it's that forgiveness or letting go is the act of choice, of choosing correctly, choosing your true identity and true reality over and over and over again. And that's the correction of your mind, so that ultimately when you finally come to death and you lay aside the body, your work is done. You've let go of your attachment to this whole insane dream and to being a separate self. And your mind is quite happy to rest in this perfect loving awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, without any further external input being needed. So you don't need to come back there. You don't need more lessons because you've accepted that pure formless awareness of perfect love is your only reality. While we're here, our job is to keep making these corrections so that we learn this. Okay, so is that clear, Elaine?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's a very clear teaching. This is not difficult really, rocket science. It's just
No, it's putting
quite
it into
radical because
practice.
it's really saying nothing here is real. Like everything you
Yeah,
believe,
yes,
everything
that's
that is false. So you've got to let it all go, which is
it's the
going to
hard
challenge.
bit. Yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah. But it's very clear. It's very conceptually very simple and very clear. It's just
Mm,
to actually apply the theory by letting go of your attachments as and when they show up. And
yeah,
that's where the forgiveness or letting go is critical, because that's what you have to do
yeah.
over and over and over again, repeatedly. So that when you finally lay your body aside, the idea is that all of that belief in separation, all of the ego's identity and karma is gone. You've released it.
Mm,
So you don't have, without an ego, you just won't come back here. You'll never have to reincarnate. And this entire reality will just disappear for you.
yeah.
Don't know about you, but that sounds like a good idea to me.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think at this stage, yeah, I mean, all this sort of, I suppose we're hanging on for the good stuff. Well, of course, it's,
Mm,
two sides of the same coin, the good stuff, bad stuff. It's just a
yeah,
never-ending cycle, yeah.
reality. You seek for pleasure and you try and avoid pain, but inevitably
It's both the
you
same.
experience pain and suffering anyway.
Yeah,
And seek
yeah.
pleasure that causes pain. We know that. Anyone who's pleasure seeking and
Hmm.
indulging in whatever it is, eating, drinking,
Nice
sex,
holidays.
drugs, whatever, inevitably it's going to cause pain at some point.
Yeah.
That's the duality. So what Yesh
Right.
was saying to us, look, get out of the whole system. The entire system is completely flawed and will
Mm,
never bring you the peace of God, the peace of perfect love that your soul yearns for.
mm, mm.
So get out of the entire system, let it go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then read if you read the little commentary.
Hmm.
In fact, I'll read if you want.
Oh,
I'll
yes, yeah.
read the original, you read the alternative. So there is no peace except the peace of God.
There is no peace except peace of perfect love.
So let me not wander from the way of peace, for I am lost on other roads than this.
Oh, are you reading the whole
No,
original?
then
Oh,
read the alternative.
oh, I see. Yeah, I couldn't see that there yet. I see. Yes. I will not wander from the way of peace, for I am lost on other paths than this.
But let me follow him who leads me home, and peace is certain as the love of God.
But let me follow the guide that leads me home, and peace is certain as pure formless awareness of perfect love.
I'm going to change that, but I choose to follow the guide that leads me home. And peace is certain as pure formless awareness of perfect love. So peace comes with this awareness. When you're in this pure formless awareness of perfect love, peace is your experience. The two are really one. They're just different words pointing to the same underlying state of awareness. So very simple, very straightforward, just pointing us away from this world, saying you're already lost on other roads than this, and you're actually going nowhere. You think you're going somewhere yeah, and you're following the ego. It's the road to nowhere. You're going to be disappointed, and you have to turn around at some point and turn back. When I was in McGregor a few years ago, it was before I met you actually. There was a road that went out of the town to nowhere. They didn't finish building the road. It was supposed to go over the mountains to another town, but they ran out of money. So it goes up into the mountains and then it stops. So it looks very promising. And, but if you follow it, you will end up at a dead end, which is exactly what the ego does. It may look promising to start with, but eventually you can pursue that road. You'll get to a place, a dead end, which can then be the turning point in your life. Then you've got to turn around and retrace your steps and go back and return return home. Make a different choice. So this teaching is saying, well, why not do that sooner rather than later? You don't have to pursue the road to nowhere anymore. You can just recognize that it is the road to nowhere, and you can let it go. And by letting it go, you are going home. You're returning home. You're taking another path, the Holy Spirit's path, which leads you out of this world. Okay, and then just wrap it up with the final. This is the final time we'll look at this lesson. So let's make it a good one. I am not a body. I am free. Or I'm still as God created me.
I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as perfect love extends me. Yeah.
I'm still as perfect.
Yeah, final day. In the final day, and of course, don't try to kick up. The ego kicks up.
Yeah, this is the undoing. If you really accept this teaching, it's the complete undoing of the ego. If you're not a body and you're really free, and you still as perfect love extends you, then you're just like your source, perfect love. You're this perfect love, this perfect loving awareness, which is by its nature free, and the body is not your identity. You cannot be a body, you cannot be a separate self. You're not identified with that. And then there can be no fear of death. You're not a body and you really understand it. Well, then, there's absolutely no fear of death. When Ramana Maharshi, I've talked about him before, enlightened Indian master, was dying of cancer, and his disciples were sad and, expressing that to him. He's like, well, so have you learned nothing? I'm not a body. I've taught you that I'm the self. I'm this transcendent self, the one self that is one with its source, God. And the body is irrelevant to my identity. So he said, I'm not really going anywhere. When the body disappears, I'm not going anywhere. I'm rooted in my true self. But people, when we attach to form, as even as disciples were, then we suffer because every form will die.
Yeah.
It's a simple truth, isn't it? But it's a truth that most human beings haven't learned. You get attached to form, you will suffer inevitably because it doesn't last. Form decays and dies, and then you suffer accordingly because you believe that form is real, and then you feel at a loss. You feel like you've lost something which was really true, valuable. And this is why we struggle with death, because we get attached to the form and the body and the personal identity, and then that person's not there anymore, and we feel alone and abandoned, and of course the ego loves that, and that just perpetuates that. It says, yeah, well, yes, that's the truth, because that puts us right back into the hellish world that it wants us to believe in. So if we look at and this, it takes us back into this helpless, enervated little life where we believe that we're limited, we're lacking, we're lonely, we're suffering, we're inevitably dying. You know, focusing on the body and death is inevitably gonna lead to those thoughts, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, you're
Because
just saying don't go there. Realize that that is all a setup. That, you know, the death of the body and everything that's going on here is simply not true. It,
yeah.
it never was true. And to
Mm.
value it and give it truth and reality is to set yourself up for suffering. You're going to suffer inevitably if you do that, which is not a smart thing to do. So
Mm.
practice letting go of it systematically and progressively,
Mm-hmm.
so that ultimately you can free your mind. And that when
Yeah.
you die or anyone dies, it doesn't matter. You're like, well, it's irrelevant because the body isn't even real. So why am I giving so much importance to the unreal?
Mm-hmm.
This is not an attitude that society shares, that most people understand.
No,
So
but
don't
it's
expect everyone to suddenly go, oh, yeah, yeah, of course.
mm,
But it's the only attitude that is gonna help you to live in this
find
world
peace.
without pain,
Mm-hmm.
at peace, without pain, being in peace, not suffering. You know, only this is going to do it. Any other attitude means that you're attached to the body identity, and of course you will suffer.
Oh yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed, because the body won't last.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to, you know, really start being honest with ourselves and looking at all of this very, very logically. And then the answer is obvious. Okay, so I just, this whole system has to be false. I can't believe in any of it. And so my only task here is to let it all go. That's it. That's what I'm here to do. Forgiveness is your only function here, as Yeshua says in the workbook. And
Yeah.
okay, so any other thoughts, comments, or questions on that, on the lesson? This is the last time we are doing this particular review
Mm-hmm.
lesson. So I'm not a body, I'm free. I'm still as perfect love extends me. This is something that you can remind yourself of repeatedly, though. I would
Yes.
almost say, if you're going to pick one lesson out of the workbook, pick this one, because it actually summarizes it really well. It's got
Yeah.
the very essence of the practice in it. So you
That's
can
the
use
one. Mm-hmm.
this again and again. I'm not a body, I'm
Just keep
free. Well,
repeating it, yeah. Whenever those pesky thoughts come in, of
yeah,
fearing
yeah,
the death
particularly
of the
if it's about
body.
body identification, which usually it is. I mean, you know,
It is.
the fear of sickness, and then you were like, I
Exactly.
remember talking about the treats, you know, oh, I want a bit of pleasure in the body. It's the same thing. See, it's
Mm.
just two sides of the same coin. I'm
Yeah.
seeking for pleasure in the body, but then I can also suffer in the body. And there's also
Yeah.
the pain that the body causes me. And if I seek pleasure, I'm inevitably inviting the pain, because I'm identifying with this body identity that inevitably is going to cause me pain. So I'm
Mm.
essentially, the pleasure is really pain, if
I
I'm
mean,
honest
mine,
about
I didn't
it.
really I wouldn't have said that was what I went for the massage for. It was more for self-care. For self-care, because obviously, if you've sort of had
Yeah,
uh,
no, I wasn't particularly talking about the massage. I was talking about the treats, you know,
oh, I
the
see.
food, the food
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Oh,
I've got you.
nice to have it. And so it's worth remembering that, like, whenever you seek pleasure from a physical experience,
Yeah.
uh, body, you identify with the body, which means you also are inviting pain. That's the
Mm.
principle.
Mm. Mm.
You know, the ego is trying to get you to seek pleasure and avoid pain, and it does that over and over. But it's never going to be successful. You're never going to have only pleasure in that
No,
equation.
no.
There's always going to be the pain that inevitably will come. So yes, you're saying, well, look at the system and go, that's insane. I
Mm.
want to be free of all that. I want only the blissful pleasure of my being, of
Yeah.
being my true self. And I'm willing to let go of pain entirely, pain and suffering, and not entertain them, rather than, you know, just trying to seek pleasure and trying to avoid pain that way. Because that strategy is never going to work. I mean, look at the world we've created. We've gone to great lengths, all the technology we talked about earlier, to
Mm.
try and make our lives better as human
And
beings.
comfortable.
Has
Yeah.
it eliminated pain and suffering from the world and death?
Well, become more separated,
hasn't.
really. We're more
No,
separated. There's
it
not
hasn't.
the,
It hasn't really addressed anything. The people
no,
still
we're
suffer
disconnected,
pain. Yeah, still
more
suffer pain.
lonely, we're more
There's
lonely,
suffering. There's sickness. There's death. Technology hasn't fixed that, and it never will. It never can because
loneliness. Hmm.
those are in the mind, and they must then manifest. They must be projected out into the world, and then we see their effects in the world.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, just bear it in mind. It's a great, easy, simple lesson to remember. I'm not a body, I'm free. For I'm still as perfect love extends me. But in that, you deny your false identity, you claim your true one. So it's a very, very powerful lesson, and it's a way of letting go of body identification as and when it arises.
Mm. Yeah. Keep reminding myself when the body's aching and in pain.
Yeah. And that's all you can do. You know, the body is going to, it doesn't just disappear, but it's the perception of the body. That's the problem. If you make
Yeah.
it real, then you suffer. The real suffering is mental and emotional. Oh, you go, oh, identify with the pain, and oh, now I've got
Something
this
terrible.
pain and it's a real problem,
Could be
and
something
now
terrible.
I mentally and emotionally I'm suffering, you see, because I've made it real and I've created a story that's now taken me into a negative state of mind.
It does,
And
yeah.
I
And
end
it's
up suffering.
seeing the worst case
Justifying my
scenario,
fault.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's
This
true.
just counters that. It says, well, if I'm not a body and I'm still free, I'm still as perfect love extends me. None of this is true. None of this is real. So I might have some sensations still going on, but
Hmm.
so what? I'm not a body.
Yeah.
And so what? Even if I did have terminal cancer, it didn't affect Romano one bit. He wasn't perturbed at all.
Mm.
Well, because I'm not a body. So why am I bothered? The body's just a vehicle, and now it's time for the vehicle to be scrapped. That's really what a terminal illness is. It's just vehicle's going to the scrap heap. And if I've really done my work and I've learned my lesson, then I'm free. I'm liberated from this, what was always a very limited vehicle that wasn't the truth. I've transcended the need for that. I'm free of it, which is to be celebrated.
Mm. Mm.
That's the correct attitude to death.
Yeah,
But in this world, it's quite rare because everyone's attached to the body.
they are. They are. I know.
And so when bodies die, then everyone feels sad, and that supposedly, according to the ego's religion, that's supposedly a good thing. You've got to mourn and you've got to, weep and wail and gnash your teeth. And some cultures, even every year they commemorate someone's death.
Mm.
I'm like, well, why would you do that? Why would you
Mm.
keep reminding
Reminding.
yourself? Just the sadness revisited.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
exactly.
I don't want to forget. You see, they don't want to forget that separate self, that person. But that's
Mm.
exactly what you have to do to be free. You've got to forget it all. Like, actually, none of these characters are real. They never really even existed. So, why am I remembering what didn't even exist? Surely I prefer the freedom of your formless awareness to that. Again, there might be people who listen to this on YouTube and struggle with it. It's like, well, that sounds horribly clinical and uncaring and
Mm.
unkind, but it's not. It's actually the only way to liberate yourself
Mm.
from this endless drama of suffering, pain, sickness, and death that goes on in human form. If you believe in it, then you carry on, you carry on in the drama and you'll carry on suffering. So this ends it, claiming, saying, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as perfect love extends me, and really understanding that ends the dream. That's it, you're free. You don't need to come and be human anymore and suffer and die. Okay, so
Mhm.
I think that we've covered the lesson. Choices now, it's 20 to 9. Would you like to do a meditation or would
Yeah,
you like to go into some text?
I think I'll do some meditation now. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so do the
Yeah.
meditation and then end the session or do
Yeah.
some text after?
Yeah, no, yes, it's getting a bit late now. So yeah, just a nice meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Let's do that. And I'll see you. I think I'm going to do an afternoon session tomorrow. Can you make tomorrow afternoon?
I'm not sure, but I think so. Yeah, maybe
Hmm.
later on, because then I can get my chores in the morning done. Yeah. Yeah, that should be
Yeah.
fine.
So 1:30 or something?
Yeah, I think that should be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Elaine. I'll
Okay.
see you then.
Okie doke.
All right. Let's do the med then. Okay. So this is meditation on workbook lesson 220, which is a review of lesson 200. It's the last review lesson, actually, in the whole course, because from now on we go into part two, which is structured differently, and much shorter lessons. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale, another sip of air in. Squeeze the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in, draw the energy up the spine, into your heart center, on up into the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale. Now scan your mind and notice any thoughts, any emotions that are not peaceful, that disturb your peace. Could be a little bit of frustration, anger, rage, attack thoughts, fear, anxiety in any form, depression, sadness, sense of loss, jealousy, anything like that. Just notice the disturbance to your peace and remind yourself that I'm not a body. I am free. I'm still as perfect love extends me. But breathe in that perfect loving awareness and the freedom that it entails into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this peaceful, loving awareness. Infuse that peace into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, and every fiber of your being is in this peaceful awareness. And rest in this peaceful awareness. Remind yourself that there is no peace except the peace of God or the peace of perfect love. There is no peace except the peace of perfect love. And just exhale and have a sense of releasing, letting go of any unpeaceful thoughts and emotions, blowing them away, the breeze of your breath, into the nothingness that they really are. Find a sense of peace, stillness. As you listen to these words, so I will not wander from the way of peace. If I'm lost on other paths than this, as you breathe in, I will not wander from the way of peace, for I'm lost on other paths than this. But I choose to follow the guide that leads me home. Choose now to follow the guide. This is the Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love that leads me home. And peace is certain as pure forms of awareness of perfect love. Peace is certain as pure formless awareness of perfect love. And feel that peaceful, loving awareness rising in your heart, in your mind, sinking into it, and deeper into this peaceful, loving awareness. Peace of God, it's been called, it surpasses all understanding. Peace of perfect love, call it. And just sink into this peace, and deeper into peace. Peace is certain as pure formless awareness of perfect love. Yes. Peace is certain as the love of God. No sense of this peace, sink into it, breathe into it. As you're breathing this peaceful, loving awareness into every pore of your body, every cell, every muscle is infused with this peaceful, loving awareness. There's nowhere else to go, there's nothing else to do. Just breathe, relax, be still. And surrender this peaceful, loving awareness. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Breathe, observe the breath, relax. Be still and sink inwards to this peaceful, loving awareness. Just observe the breath flowing in and out through your nostrils. Quiet your mind and watch the breath. There are no problems in this quiet, calm, peaceful awareness. Thinking deeper and deeper with each breath into this peaceful, loving awareness. Just let it happen, let it unfold, surrender into it. Any thoughts come up, seem to disturb your peaceful, loving awareness. You just notice them, maybe casually, objectively. Remind yourself that I'm not a body. I am free. I'm still as God created me, or perfect love extends me. And so there is no peace except the peace of perfect love. Peace of God, or peace of perfect love. When you exhale, you just blow out any of this non-peace, unpeaceful thoughts, emotions, feelings, energy. Blow it out. A dark cloud or black smoke leaving you. It's going, gone. And nothingness that really is. Letting it all go. Surrendering it all to the nothingness that it really is. And sinking deeper and deeper with each breath into this really peaceful, calm, relaxed state of mind without illusions, which only the truth is true. So just gently coming back now to an awareness of the body and the breath, senses in the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Notice what you're smelling. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing, surrounding the environment. Touching, feeling. There's a subtle flow of air in your skin. Notice all these things. Bring yourself back into the body through awareness of the body and the breath. And yet reminding yourself that I'm not a body, I'm free. I'm still as perfect love extends me. So exhale, the count of 2, exhale. And just release all body identification, and a sense of lack, limitation, loneliness, suffering, guilt, sin, fear, attack thoughts, pain. Just blow it all away. Recognize that all these things are illusions. Releasing them. The breeze of your breath are going, gone. Follow the stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Just the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Round yourself back into the body. Notice what you're feeling with the body touching. Just to bring yourself back into body awareness, but at the same time, connected to your true self, self that knows that you're not a body, and to the peace of perfect love that lies beyond the body. So remind yourself that not a body, I'm free. I'm still as perfect love extends me, and that there is no peace except the peace of God or perfect love. And just experience that peace briefly. Anchor this peaceful state in. Set the intention to stay in this peace for the rest of the evening and on into tomorrow. Use today's lesson if you need to top you up. Top up your tank of peace. Restore your mind to peaceful awareness. If the ego should come calling and disturb your peace in any way, shape, or form, remind yourself that I'm not a body, I'm free. I'm still as perfect love extends me, and there is no peace except the peace of perfect love. So it is said, and so it is done. And so now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute just to look around, ground yourself back into this world, noticing everything around you from this state of peaceful awareness. So notice that whatever you're looking at, what underlies it is peaceful awareness. Look at one object, anything randomly happens to be there, and look at another and another. Notice it's actually the identical awareness, a very peaceful awareness that underlies them all. You can close your eyes. Maybe that helps you to drop even more deeply into that peaceful, loving awareness. Experience it for a few moments. Eyes closed, then open your eyes. Okay, look around and notice that that awareness is unaffected, whether your eyes are closed or open, whatever you're looking at, whatever you're perceiving with your physical senses really doesn't affect this peace in any way. And so you're training your mind that there is only the peace of God, there's this peace of love, that you're really lost on other paths than this, and that you choose to follow this peaceful, loving awareness home to the state of pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is what I wish for you. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thank you, Elaine, for joining and making the session possible. More than a monologue, always appreciated. And I will see you tomorrow, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yes.
5:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, I was just going to interrupt you there. I got a message from a lady who's doing spiritual work. She's just said she's awoken and she's laughing and crying at the same time. Is this awaking, or is this just the ego playing tricks with her?
Well, it's difficult to say. I don't know what her experience is.
There's a video of her dancing.
Awakening is a process. So you can have these moments of satori,
Yeah,
of
I think that's
insight,
all she's had. Yeah, she's had a
going
satori
through,
moment.
satori, epiphany, whatever you want to call it. And that's part of the awakening process, no doubt. Then she'll get up tomorrow and she might find the ego's back.
I know.
So
Yeah, but
you've got to deal with more egoic stuff. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, I'll have to guide her towards you.
Yeah, well, by all means, invite her
Yeah.
to
I mean, she's a
join.
bit of an eccentric, she's an eccentric type. But we all have our personas. But she's like all of us. We just all want to wake up. Well, not all of us, but she's in that frame. And just like I say, just now she sent a video and she's laughing and smiling. And she's been so unhappy. And then all of a sudden she's just woke up. She just said,
Yeah,
I'm home. I'm home.
She's had a
So
shift. She's had a great. So what she'll probably find is that there's some more work to do to stay there,
yeah.
to maintain that state.
Well, I'll send her the link for you so that like I say, I mean, she seems in the ego's a bit mad, if you know what I mean. But you can, I mean, we are all just egos doing our play, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah. Well, by all means, just
well, that's it. Yes. Well, I'll put the link to her so that yeah, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that now. Actually, yeah. Well, I'm very pleased for her. I mean, if she has awoken, how wonderful.
Yeah. Then is it? It's like
Yeah.
awoken. I guess that means that there's no more work to do. I never have to do any more letting go. It's probably not the case. It's like it's an epiphany, it's an insight, and you can feel on top of the world. And then, the next day the ego comes back with a vengeance. That often happens.
Yeah.
So it's more helpful to say, I'm having an insight, and this is great, and I can really enjoy this, and it's giving me a glimpse of heaven. Probably I've got to, if I'm still going to be in this world for a while, there's ongoing practice and work still to be done, because almost certainly the ego will come back and tempt it. So, this I've awoken and that's it, end of game. No, well, highly unlikely.
Yeah.
You're in a process, you're still human, you're going to get tests and challenges inevitably. So rather say, well, I'm awakening. That's a much better, I'm on a journey of awakening, and this was amazing experience and part of my awakening journey. But it's just, it's a part of the journey. It's all a work in progress. And then it's a bit more humble and realistic and saying, okay, I understand that, probably there's going to be some more tests, there's more challenges. Even when we're at a stage like Jesus's, he still had tests and challenges. Crucifixion being chief amongst them, but there was various issues with his disciples and all the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and so he still had stuff to deal with, even though he's in this very high state of mind. So yeah, by all means, invite her to join one of the sessions, join a call, she's most welcome. And yeah, see if she likes it. You know, she can join for 3 weeks and get the
Yes.
experience. You know, see if she'd like to continue. And
Yeah,
next
will
year,
do.
February next year, if she's not ready now, say February next year, then we're starting the course, 6-week course, and then the whole 1-year program again in mid-February. So not that long away.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's lovely to see somebody that was so unhappy all of a sudden get this glimpse of heaven. It's really quite a, it's encouraging, I guess, Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, if anyone can do it, and if one of us can do it, then we can all do it. So, she
Yes,
also,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm not dampening it down. I'm just saying, well, if you say you've awoken, it's probably likely that the ego is going to come back, and you'll have to deal with it. So just understand that, and then put in place a disciplined spiritual practice, so that you remain aware and vigilant. Yeshua says, while you're here, the need for vigilance is clear, because you're in the domain of the ego, and inevitably tests and challenges come up.
Yeah.
And then the ego will try and pull you back down into whatever negative state that it wants you to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll message her and see if she'd like to join.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, will do.
Yeah, she's
Okey
welcome
doke.
to join our group as well. If she wants to join the Telegram group,
Yeah.
then
No,
she
I'll
can
let her know.
get the messages directly about when the sessions are. Just let me know.
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Elaine.
Thanks,
All right.
Jono.
See you tomorrow.
See you
Namaste.
tomorrow. Namaste. Bye.
Bye. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you to Elaine for joining, making the session possible. If you enjoyed the session, you've been watching the recording, then there's a couple of things you can do to take it further. First of all, subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, I post the live stream videos 3 or 4 times a week, so you'll be notified by YouTube whenever I do that. You can also then catch the recordings if you don't catch the live stream. So check it out, do that if you haven't already subscribed. You can also go to lifepool.com. You see the spelling in the background there. Lifepool, just add a .com on there, and you'll be able to sign up to Telegram from there, which Telegram group, which will give you access to a whole lot of free content. Some of the stuff I showed you today would have been posted on Telegram today to the group. So you can get a daily quote, you can get a blog post related to that quote, you can get the daily lesson from the Course in Miracles workbook, translated into alternative version. You get alternative version of a text reading, which we didn't cover today as well. And you'll be notified whenever I go live. So you'll be able to join these live calls in Zoom if you'd like to. All of that is freely available at lifepool.com. So check it out, sign up, and make sure you've got Telegram. And then I can add you. It'll be added. You'll be automatically added to the Telegram group. Okay, so hope to see you on the inside. Hope you'll take the next step, and wishing you much love, peace, and joy in the meantime. Namaste, which means the true self in me acknowledges and honors that same true self in you.